So, are your rear gears aligned properly? In this video we're looking particularly at the rear derailleur hanger. That's a piece of metal here which joins your frame to your rear derailleur. One of the indicators that your gears are not aligned properly is that your chain hesitates to go into the correct gear that you've selected.
And this is the sound you hear when the gears are not aligned properly.
So what causes your rear derailleur hanger to be bent? Perhaps you've dropped your bike in an accident. Perhaps you've been at a cafe and someone else's bike has lent on yours and hit the rear derailleur there. Maybe you've been putting your bike in and out of the car and it's been touching on the rear derailleur. Quite often you'll find in an accident especially you'll find graze and scratch marks on the bolt of your rear derailleur here. But there's some of the common circumstances that happen to bend the rear derailleur hanger.
Often you can see if there's a malalignment if you stand directly behind the bike and look at the chain line as it goes through the rear derailleur and over the rear cogs. Here you can see with this 7-speed cog set, if we draw a straight line of where the chain should be going, you can see that the rear derailleur is bent inwards and that the inner part of the derailleur cage is dangerously close to the spokes. And we definitely don't want this to happen. Now with 10 or more cogs on the rear, the tolerances are very fine. Even looking closely, you may not see there's a malalignment. So this is why it's important to use a rear derailleur hanger alignment tool.
If you've recently acquired a new or second-hand bike or frame, it is good practice to check the alignment of the rear derailleur hanger. Yes, even new products.
Firstly, make sure your gear lever, cable, chain and cog set are in good order. Don't attempt to readjust your gears like this, only in an emergency if you're on the road to get you home. And using a spanner to adjust the hanger may warp the thread. It needs a bolt inside the hanger thread to do the job properly. For those using the tool for the first time, remember that the rear derailleur hanger bolt is slightly behind the centre of the axle. So the distance between the hanger bolt and rim here is shorter than the distance between the hanger bolt and rim here. And the same applies vertically. The hanger bolt is lower than the centre of the axle. And so the distance between the hanger bolt and the rim here is going to be shorter than the distance here. So it basically means you'll be sliding the indicator bracket along the main stem of the tool shorter for this half of the wheel and longer for this half of the wheel to accommodate for the offset.
So now you're ready to remove your rear derailleur. If you're going to be using the tool with the chain on, put the chain on the small cog on the rear and the small chainring on the front. This alleviates the tension on the rear derailleur spring. Put the Allen key in the rear derailleur hanger bolt and pull back on the rear derailleur, making sure that the B screw comes clear of the stopper. So pull the rear derailleur back and now undo the bolt. Once the derailleur is off, it will hang naturally on the chain. If you need to replace the hanger, there's usually 1 to 3 bolts holding it onto the frame. Here you can see the access is from the inside of the frame. Now you're ready to put the tool on the hanger, but first put a bit of grease on the tool's thread. Clean any dirt off the hanger itself. Put the tool in the hanger. Remember the hanger is made of very soft aluminium, so it's easy to cross thread, so make sure you get the tool at the right angle when you're screwing it in. And now you're ready to start measuring. Remembering that the hanger is offset from the centre of the wheel, you'll need to keep adjusting the pointer and its bracket along the shaft of the tool as you go around. I'm indicating this with my left hand, showing that the pointer has to come outwards. And back down the shaft when you come back to where you started. You can start measuring at any point on your wheel. Here I'm starting on the rear end of the rim. Set the pointer at about 2 centimeters away from the rim. Swivel the tool to the opposite end of where you've started. I put my pointer at 1 centimeter away from the rim when I started, and you can see it's a lot further than 1 centimeter here. That means the hanger is definitely out of alignment. Coming back to the point where we started, I now put the pointer at a couple of millimeters away from the rim. When I swing it around to the opposite side, it's a long way out. Now I'll start at the top of the rim. Here we can see the point is around about 8mm to a centimeter away from the rim. And when we get to the bottom, it's about the same. So all up, it means the hanger's been twisted horizontally. If your wheel is not absolutely true, and you've got a slight buckle, measure from the valve. So here we're putting the pointer to where the valve is, and as we move the tool around to measure, we move the whole wheel so the valve's in the same place as the pointer at all times. And now it's time to make adjustments. Here I'm removing the park tool and going to use instead the homemade tool to make the adjustments. Then we'll go back to the park tool and see how accurate the homemade one was. So here we've got the exact same spot where the pointer's too close. We grab the tool, twist the hanger gently, and then push the indicator back in a little bit. Then going to the opposite side of the wheel, checking if the pointer's the same distance from the rim. Here I'll speed the video up so we don't take too much time to watch it. In the meantime, making small adjustments where necessary. There's a small adjustment. And another adjustment. A few more little tweaks. And I reckon that's close enough. If the tool has a little bit of slack in it like this homemade one, just pull it very gently outwards and that'll keep its measurements accurate. Now we've made the measurements, let's have a look at the pointer closely. Here we're looking at the front of the wheel, the top of the wheel, the rear of the wheel, and the bottom. I'll make that about 3 to 4 millimeters out all the way around. That's pretty good. Now let's take the homemade one off and put the park tool back on and see how accurate we were. Speed up the measuring process again. Okay, here we can see we're at the front and it's about 2 to 3 millimeters out. Moving to the back and we're in about 2 millimeters out. Down to the bottom and about 2 millimeters out again. And finally the top, it's about 2 millimeters again. That's pretty good. Now the hanger's all straight, remove the tool, screw the rear derailleur back on, and remember to keep the B screw clear from its stopper. So you just need to hold the rear derailleur back until it's almost all the way in. Then make sure the B screw touches the stopper and do a final tighten. If you took your chain off to measure, put it back on. Then go through all your gears one by one and make sure they all align properly. You may have to do just some minor adjustments with the tension on the gear cable with the barrel adjuster, and that should be it. Lastly, remember that hangers are sacrificial. They're designed to break before damaging your frame. If you do need to buy a brand new one, make sure you get the right shape because there's so many different sorts out there now.
Well, there you go. No excuse for not having perfectly aligned gears now. Remember that hanger is the basis for having good gears. If the hanger is twisted slightly, your gears are going to be out no matter what you try and do with everything else. So get that hanger straight. Hopefully the video was understandable and that you can go through the steps if it's your first time aligning it with the tool. It's very simple. Once you've done it once, you'll remember and you'll be fine from then on. If you want to make the homemade one, watch that other video how to make it. Make some alterations, make your own ideas. Very cheap and very easy to make, so go ahead and do that. So hopefully that's all helped and you'll be going out and helping your friends align all their gears as well. See you next time.